Microtransactions are the scourge of the games industry at the moment. They're just little bits of usually useless content, and they're in loads of games these days. The worst kind of microtransactions are pay to win, the ones that let you get a bit of an edge in game, and they're about to be in Destiny 2. For fuck's sake.
Destiny 2 is out on consoles today, September the 6th, and so far early opinions have been pretty positive. It's added a lot of stuff that was flat out missing from the first game. Problem is, they went a bit too far on the adding stuff front and chucked in a healthy dose of pay-to-win microtransactions, as spotted by Destiny streamer King Gothalion. Of course they did. It's the games industry. They couldn't possibly make something a better product in every single way without adding at least a little shittiness. Destiny 2 has a microtransaction system much like what was introduced into Destiny 1 long after it first released. It's the kind of system where you buy batches of currency and then spend that currency on something in-game. In Destiny 2's case, you can spend real-world cash on a pretend space money called silver. You can buy as little as 500 silver for $5 or 5,800 silver for $50. Bargain. You spend that silver on Bright Engrams, which can contain mods for abilities, characters or weapons that can have some pretty significant effects in game. They can, for example, cut down on cooldown timers so you can use your powerful skills more frequently. They can even contain armor and weapon mods that raise your stats in everything from shield strength to movement speed and weapon recoil.
So far, so pay to win. Now you can earn these Bright Engrams in-game though, after you hit the level cap, through gaining experience or trading in your gear. So those Bright Engrams are earnable, and on top of that you can't actually use them, if you've bought them or not, until you reach level 20. But here's some added spice. You don't know what's in an engram when you're buying it, because it's totally random. So it's also bringing in that extra little bit of microtransaction bollocks that effectively turns it into a gambling system. You don't know what it is until you've got it. It's a particularly nasty flavour of microtransaction that inspired Jim Sterling to come up with the word micro wagers. It's not a transaction, it's a bet. It's a wager. So this is a big deal because at the end game in Destiny is all about the stats and the gear that you get, and you're working towards smaller and smaller increments of improvements in your character and what you can actually do and the types of enemies you can kill. So this game that they're so obsessed with balancing and making sure that the PvP feels like the PvE and all that bollocks, like this just changes all that. It's just, if you've got the money and if you're willing to spend it on this stuff, then you can just have an edge. Fine, go for it, because it's money and they want the money.
Is it just me, or is nobody really highlighting this for Destiny 2? There's not been that many headlines that I've seen, articles. You consider Shadow of War. They did a whole stream about how microtransactions will be implemented in that game.
How awesome it would be.
Yeah, and everyone lost their fucking shit. Everyone went crazy about that, and they've been torn apart in the media by it. Not so much for Destiny 2, and you could argue that Destiny 2 have implemented it worse in a way.
Yeah, I think it's more important in Destiny than it is in Shadow of War, because it's competitive and because it's all, it is kind of this MMO-ish type experience. I don't give a shit what you think. And it is kind of something that will affect the core of the game. It's all about getting those items and getting the drops and getting the engrams. Getting engrams was such a huge part of Destiny 1 that for a long time people stood outside one cave and shot the enemies that just constantly spawned out of it because they dropped engrams. You know what I mean? People were willing to do that because it was satisfying and rewarding because they got cool stuff in those engrams. That should show you how important these things are in this game. And the fact that they've made the microtransaction system about that rather than like cosmetics and the emotes and all that stuff, that's kind of a bad move. And it's been there since Destiny 1, and it's just kind of hit its peak here, I think.
And the fact that you can't really access any of the microtransactions until you're level 20, is that like a way of slipping it in under the radar a little bit? Whereas, you don't get exposed to all the microtransactions and bullshit until you're later on in the game, until you've earned your crust, until you're a hardcore Destiny fan who you maybe not get so upset about it by then. The people who play it first, and like the majority of people, don't get exposed to it, but once you're left with your core audience, you can then shaft them for as much money as you can.
I think it's to do with the way the game's structured, so they want these things to be like powerful enough so that you use them in the end game, because people who say the first 20 hours of Destiny 2 isn't really the game and the game doesn't really start until you finish the game, they're the ones who are going to want this kind of stuff and that kind of edge. And when you're leveling up, you're discarding equipment all the time. Like, you'll pick up a weapon and you'll use it for like a couple of missions or whatever, and then it's gone. You've got something better. This is a way of making them like powerful enough and valuable enough that they're worth having because of the way the game is laid out. You've got to keep that up to that top like level 20 tier. And when they add expansion expansions and stuff, they'll move that level cap up to like level 30, for example. What happens to the microtransactions then? I'm sure we'll have lots of new exciting ways to waste our money.
But this isn't new to Destiny. Like we mentioned, this was in Destiny 1. Microtransactions were added in October 2015 with the Eververse trading company. It sold new emotes for your character, and then it all kind of grew into something a bit more substantial, a bit more pay to win, you might say. This time around, the pay to win element is certainly there, but still pretty much untested, and we'll only know for sure after gamers spend some real time with it. It's a shame to see this sort of stuff invading more and more of our games these days, and Destiny 2 even throws a self-aware reference about the pervasiveness of microtransactions in there for us to enjoy.
What? You thought a bit of apocalypse would shut down Eververse? Not likely.
Which basically says, what? You think the story's going to get in the way of a little microtransaction store? You wouldn't let something like an apocalypse get in the way of a greedy company trying to take all your money now, would they?
They even say that to you. This is pretty serious because the fact that it does give you stat changes at all is pretty bad. There are some people who are saying, well, it isn't really pay to win and all that stuff, and maybe it's like launch week hype or something that's kind of clouding their judgment with this sort of stuff. I think it is a pretty big deal, something not to be ignored. It definitely is microtransactions, and it definitely is something that gives you an edge in a game that's all about building yourself up and improving your stats and improving your gear. This is a big deal for me. So if there's any doubt in your mind, is there microtransactions, is there pay to win in Destiny 2? I think the answer is yes.
For all those people who are getting up in arms about the Shadow of War, who might have overlooked this Destiny thing, you're lucky we're here to point this shit out to you, because we will always say when something is bad, and that's what we've done here. That's you're welcome.
Even if we're really excited about Destiny 2.
Some of us.
So there you go, there's microtransactions in Destiny 2, and they may be pay to win in our opinion. What do you think? Do you think this is a pay to win system? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this every single day. There's another video right there which you could watch right now, and there's a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. See you next time.